Well, I've got something in the mail. That is a hard drive, and since I have a computer with a broken hard drive, that'll come in real handy. Yeah, so what happened when I first, not long after I moved, actually got the Surface Pro because I wanted a computer that would go into the easy to take to hospital and whatnot, and just be transportable if we travelled and whatnot. So I got the Surface Pro, but I still had an old Toshiba laptop. It wasn't a flash one, but it was a reasonable one, i5 something or other, and it was working fine, and I used it, and it was a good little spare games machine or whatever I wanted to do. I mean, run simple games fine, and it died. All of a sudden the hard drive wasn't accessible, which is unusual. I've had a lot of laptops. I've got one that one's about 3 years old, and I've got one that's 5 or so years old, 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. It's still going fine. Got a little 300 gig drive in it. Every other computer I got still got drive. I have lost drives over the years, mostly bigger ones from power failures and whatnot, but most of these laptop drives have been going good. I'm pretty sure somewhere I might have given it to my mate. I've got a really old Dell that had about an 80 gig hard drive, and it was going fine. So it was unusual to go, but I thought, oh well. So you know, when you get an old computer like that, you think, well, just toss it. I don't really need it. But you know, I kept it, and I thought, well, why not whack a drive in it? Even here in Australia, I think I picked this up for $90 for a terabyte 2.5-inch drive. So I thought, why not get it going again? Because I stuck a bootable iOS in it the other day, Ubuntu, and it still runs fine, looks good. It's not a bad old machine, so I thought, why not make a good video anyway? Now, the first thing you're going to need, I have a blue one somewhere too, but anyway, you're going to need the red pill or the green pill. It would have been a blue pill, but I had a red, green and blue one, but the blue one's downstairs, I think. I think I have Ubuntu on that one. We might do a Ubuntu install on another machine later. I have installed Ubuntu on a machine and it went really well, but what I want to do is try and do a dual boot sometime, and I might do that as another video. And on this one I have a Windows 10 install. So now if you're going to do a reinstall on a machine, easy, you just go do a Google on media creation tool. It'll download a little tool, takes you to Microsoft. I can throw the link in for it probably. You download the tool, you can then get on a going Windows 10 machine, run the tool, and it'll tell you, oh, do you want to update this machine or do you want to install another machine? And you go install another machine, and you just select either an ISO or a USB, stick a USB in, make sure you pick the right USB. I unplugged everything else and just left the USB in. Click on the E drive or F drive or whatever it is on your computer, create the tool. Takes a little while, it's easy, you can't really go wrong with that one, very easy to do that. And then once you got that, you should be able to install it. Now this is a machine which has got a major hardware change with a putting a hard drive in. They say it's easier now, so we'll find out whether it's how it goes trying to install Windows 10 and activating it on a machine that you've changed the hard drive. So we'll give it a go. And I'm not going to do it here because there's not enough bloody room. I might go out on the couch to do it. Yes, I have a dog too. Unfortunately, the light's pretty atrocious in here. Hello, dog. Say hello. Come here. Over closer so you can say hi. Hello, I'm a dog. Has to be in the... You can just sit there and lick me for a bit. So, that's the back. Sorry about the crap angles and crap light and crap everything. Anyway, We'll have to make up one day as a nice little frame for straight down video. So the hardware part of this is bloody dead easy. Should be anyway. This one particular, it's got a, usually they used to have, for a while there, they had a hard drive cover, a memory cover, and this one's got them in both. And I noticed some of the ones now have got a memory cover and no hard drive cover. And the hard drive sort of, you got to pull the floppy out, not floppy, CD-ROM out to get to it. Oh. That is filming. Yep. These things here, they just make them very hard to pop off. I don't know why they make them quite so hard. Whole hard drive, and not a lot holds them in actually. It's got a bit of a cover that might have to swap across by looks. Probably the hardest bit. Your RAM's in there. I think this one's got about 8 gig. And yep. Oops, new drive. Not as clear what that one is, but I'm pretty sure it's a terabyte. Yep. And this screwdriver, it's had it. Cheap screwdriver. So it seems to slip in the handle somewhere. That's a bit weak. Probably screwed a bit hard one day. So that's a little bit of cheap and nasty on there. I probably don't need it, but it's a bit of shielding. Keep that one in case I decide I want to try and recover some data off of it. Not that there's got anything too important on it. Backups. Backups are important. Most of that was all backed up, except for some few game saves or something. And I wouldn't believe how hard numb fingers make it for putting screws in and out. Get those 4 in there, and that just slips. The slightest pressure on that screwdriver and it slips. That is just rubbish. So, our drive slides back in there. And that's about all there is to it. That's the easy bit. And that's your hardware. Quick as that. And then I probably should plug it in, because I have no idea what sort of battery it's got in it at the moment, and it'll need a fair bit of power. Next thing you want to really do is make sure it's going to boot from the USB. If you don't have one that boots from a USB, then you're probably going to need a CD-ROM or something. But let's face it, if it's a machine that's too old to boot from USB, then it's probably too old to be bothering with. That's more than the vintage computer range. Now my other machine, it was a bit tricky. Even though you set the BIOS up to boot from the USB, it still won't boot from the USB for some reason, and you actually have to hit F12 or something to bring up a boot menu, select USB, and then it goes fine. But for some reason it just won't automatically boot. You need to figure out how your computer boots into your BIOS. It's usually escape or F2 or something. I usually spam both and hope one of them gets it. I'm not sure which one it is that did it on that one, but probably F2 being a Toshiba. And that gets you into your BIOS. That way, straight away it should be able to see the HD. Yep, it's actually detecting the hard drive. WDC, so it's a Western Digital, and that's got the CPU. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up on the screen. It's fairly small, but you got your CPU and your hard drive info there, and your RAM, 8 gig. You want to go across to your boot. It's got here where it's booting from the CD-ROM or whatever, and then the USB. So that's probably okay. I mean, we could probably rearrange that with the F5 keys, whatever, and put USB on top. That way it'll definitely boot the USB straight up. So we might as well give it a go. Now the USBs on this machine, I seem to remember, were a bit glitchy. Yeah, USB on this were not the best, but I think that back one's not too bad. It's got has a bit of corrosion in this corner, and it's sort of affected the wireless card and the card reader and the USB. I've pulled it apart and cleaned it up a long time ago, and it got back together and most of it works, so the wireless is working and everything, so it'll just go until it goes, and then I'll pull the drive out and put it in something else, I suppose. Switch it back on. With a bit of luck, it'll boot the USB. So yes, there's going to be a lot of editing here, and anywhere it's a bit dead we'll just cut and go to the next important bit. So with a lot of interludes that say later wants to install Windows. That's a good sign. It's only given me a choice of English, United States English, which is a bit of a shame. See if we can find Australia for time and currency. Otherwise we'll have the dates backwards. Keyboard, we want US, because generally it's a US keyboard. It's unfortunate it doesn't have like UK English there, but we probably can change that later, because otherwise it's going to spell colour wrong or something on it. So go next. We have a lot of options here. One's repair. That's probably something to try with the other drive, but we're going to try install. Because the other drive I did try it, I did pull it out and try it on just trying to access it directly as a drive, and it was just not doing anything, so chances are it's pretty dead. And the install process, of course, is very slow. Ubuntu was quite quick, surprisingly, but then it's a fairly bit smaller of course. But setup is starting. I also got budget value pack flash drives, so they are probably the slowest flash drive I've ever seen in my life. So we've got accept the terms. You don't have a real lot of choice. So people say, oh, you didn't read all the terms. Well, I don't have a lot of choice. If I'm going to install it anyway, read them later at my leisure. Upgrade. Upgrade? There's nothing here. Help me decide. Custom. Install Windows only. Well, there's nothing to upgrade, so help me decide. There's nothing to delete. Don't really feel like doing custom either. Let's try, for a joke, do an upgrade and see what it says. That should be fun. Because there's nothing to upgrade. Nope, that's not going to work. Back. Let's do a custom. Okay, so it's going to use the whole drive. That's pretty much what we want to do. Now this bit is going to take a while. Although maybe it's copied a lot into RAM already, I don't know, but machine cleaned up well. White machine is a very bad idea. If you ever get a choice between white and black, you always go black. This was just terrible. You get marks from your hands and they look really terrible really quick, but they do look beautiful when they're clean. So it's going to take a while there. We might pause. And yeah, if anyone's asking about when I changed the thing about static, I've never worried about static. We live in a fairly moist environment and static's not usually an issue. Moisture's more of our issue. If you live in a drier environment, you probably have to be a little bit more careful. I just tend to just short myself out all the time, and I haven't never had any trouble with it. But obviously in some environments static's a bigger issue than others. It's not a big issue around here. I am sweat is pouring off me. I'm more worried about covering everything in salt water. So we might, it's going to take a while to copy those files. So we'll come back when it's done a bit. So getting those, it was in that getting files ready for installation bit was up to like 90%. I thought I'll turn it back on just when it gets towards the end, and then it went to 90 to 100 and like oh dear. It's going to restart now. I wonder if it wants me to pull the drive out. It doesn't tell you. See what it does, and we'll see if we need to pull it out. Probably should have pulled it out, but anyway, because it's probably going to try and install again. We'll see how clever it is. Not very. So I think what we'll do is we'll pull that out. Kill it. And have another go. Windows is so quick. And later on we'll do a comparison with Ubuntu. yes, it'll go through and probably looks for drivers and whatnot. Does take a while to do all these things. You do need to be patient and get lots of coffee on hand. I mean, this goes for all operating systems. The Linux kernel does it a little bit differently because it's got a lot of stuff already in the kernel to handle everything. I suppose Windows does too, although it does rely on a lot of more external drivers. But with all operating systems, there's just such a huge range of hardware they've got to deal with. There's just so much to go through. But not a lot of interaction needed. And you can probably hear the chimes ringing in the background. Trees does love her chimes. So we started this about 4 o'clock, so it's only been 20 minutes so far, so it's not too bad so far. And so it goes into another restart. Now there's one thing Windows has always had, is lots and lots of restarts. So there you go. After a couple of restarts, it's now wanting to know the local Wi-Fi. That's a good sign. Then I've got to remember my password, which I just changed recently. Something like that. Now you can do a custom or express settings. I probably should do customize. I'm tempted to do express, but we'll do customize. Ooh. Personalize your speech typing, asking, but send. Let Skype help you connect with friends. Yeah. Let apps use your advertising ID for. Why not? Connectivity, error reporting. So there's lots of things you can turn off, and probably should, but we'll leave them on anyway, so we can see how much damage we can do. We can always reinstall. Okay, at this point you've got to then sign into your Microsoft account, and this one I was already on a Microsoft account before, so and that's always a good idea. So you then just put in your Microsoft. Yeah, I'll put that up here so I can type properly. There that goes. Now, major hardware change, so what's going to happen here? Password can be easily stolen. Biometrics, blah 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 blah. And a PIN. I always like a PIN. Oh, easier up here. Yeah. Very hard. Just save me typing sideways there. So we type in a PIN. Which is always easier. A lot of people I know just sort of use like 4444 or 3333 or 212 but yeah. Ooh, Cortana. Never used it, I must admit, but why not? If you're gonna go Windows, just go full on, eh? And yeah, it's getting there. Windows 10 certainly easier than some of the ones in the past, for sure. They've really come a ways. I mean, I used Linux for years because Windows drove me mad. I just couldn't stand it. I stuck with DR-DOS for years and just using DOS. In the early days when 3.1 was around, I only mainly started using 3.1 just so I could, because the local school was always having trouble with, it was only a little small school, they couldn't afford an IT department or anything, so I was often down there trying to fix up stuff there, so I mostly learned it for that reason. And then 95 and 98, that was some pretty horrific, some of them. But then I had good luck with ME playing games, so. But I was doing all my serious stuff with Linux at the time, all the browsing and any sort of. I just used OpenOffice on on Linux for years. Well, I did for a long time use OS 2, of course, too, which I loved. I loved Warp 3 and Warp 4, and it puts a lot of meaningless messages up, while it does even more internal stuff without telling you. I'm in two minds about it. Some machines will sort of tell you what they're doing, and it's interesting to know what it's actually doing at the time. The ordinary person, it just confuses things, and oh, what's that doing, or what's that mean, and it's probably no use for the ordinary person, but for me I would find it interesting. Don't buy these unless you just want some cheap thing to throw some photos on to take down to the copy that place. Searching for display driver, and I'll reduce this. I usually put that down to a little tiny thing. Probably can do that already, can I? No. Just do it like that. A little bit less room taking up. This has got Bluetooth, which is handy. Ooh, it'll probably want to connect to. Oh, that's probably alright. It'll download all my files onto this computer. Should be taking up lots of disk. So that's pretty well installed by the looks. It didn't give me any information about registering yet, so whether it's already worked out this computer. Hold on. An update is required. Yes, update OneDrive. Does it do that? I think it's updating OneDrive. It will want me to set up OneDrive, but we'll leave that for now. Make sure it's not in tablet mode. I had trouble with another machine at one stage. This one seems to be alright, but make sure you put it into desktop mode. I had a computer where it just let it decide whether it was a tablet or a desktop, and it chose tablet, so it doesn't always pick the right choice there. So I think it's already in the right mode. Yep, it looks like the right mode, which is good, because it was in full screen tablet mode and it was annoying. And there you go. And then we'll just check activation, and it looks like it's good to go otherwise. So a few things I always like to do on the computer, if I can figure out where they are. Always have trouble finding them. themes, is it? Change the, I like to have all the, well, most of these on there. User files, why not? Network, don't really need network. Control panel. We'll put network for the moment, but that's usually a useless one. And we'll put them on there. So we've got that on the, everyone customizes it how they want differently, obviously. But that's one of the things I like to have on. We've got Edge here. Actually, Edge is not that bad as long as you don't want to do too much. Mostly I use Edge for downloading Chrome or Firefox or whatever, but Chrome's a good one. But it's not a bad little browser compared to the old days. Chrome download, get Google Chrome. It's not that it's done by Microsoft, because I mean Chrome's a big company that wants to take all your data too, so it's no difference. It's just better, and because I use Google Mail for some of the stuff, and Drive, it's just, yeah, very handy to use Google Chrome, especially really good for Drive, although I haven't been using Drive as much. I've actually been using Word for a lot of my stuff, and using instead of Google Drive, I've been using yeah, the OneDrive. Is it OneDrive? I can't remember. There's so many different ones. I've got Dropbox and OneDrive and Google Drive, and remembering which one's which is a pain. So let's view the downloads. Should be able to run that one, and that's probably the most important thing you can install. And then after that, there's lots of Googling and installing things, which is the biggest problem with installing Windows. 70 minutes, I was going to say. We're only doing Chrome, right? We are on NBN here. The real NBN. Sorry for those who got crap Australian fraudman. Because ours is quite quick and quite good and works really well. But then we actually moved to a place that we knew had it. We had to move, and we actually had it on the old farm, which was interesting. We had the wireless version, which was quite good. And there we got a Chrome thing, and it'll want me to sign in and do all sorts of things, which I'll do later. But that's usually pretty straightforward. It'll probably has it somewhere. You've got your little sign in, and you click that, and you'll want to put your whatever your email is in for that. Of course, that was extra tricky because I just remember I always have a text message get sent as well. So yeah, you do that, and then you can pretty much install whatever you want. But we have to, of course, do authentication. So we have to really see what this thing's done, because this obviously was a computer that was registered, has a licensed copy of Windows, and whether it's recognized that or whether it's going to have to or whether it's going to have to do something with Windows or not, we shall see in a minute, as soon as this finishes updating. Hey old dog, you have trouble getting upstairs, mate? Okay, so let's look at authentication. Now if I can just remember where activation is. so we can see what it's like for just anybody doing it, just an ordinary user, because I haven't had much to do with computers for years. Update security sounds about right. Activation. Okay, upgrade. So it's activated, apparently. So even though I have changed major hardware, supposedly, it's managed to find enough of this machine to say, yep, this is the same machine, even though you've changed your hard drive. So whether that's always the case or not, I don't know. Doesn't. I mean, I haven't had any much trouble with Windows lately, but there's a lot of stuff that I'd have to read through. But anyway, it appears that it's just I can go through to my. I'll probably do that. I'll go through to my Windows account and just have a look. Actually, I'll do that, but I'll pull it up here and pause for a minute so I can have a look. That's a bit involved. So it's given it a crap name. I'll have to change that or something, but yeah, so it's found it. It knows it's me. It even put up a nice little map just to let me know where I was. So that's my yeah, Surface Pros on here, and this Lappy. So it's either gone by the serial number or whatever, and it's had no trouble figuring out that was the correct machine. It's got my some old machines there too. That's my this one here would be the Alienware, and that one there's that old laptop which doesn't have Windows on it at the moment. I'm going to put it back on again shortly. I've been testing it with I was testing it with Ubuntu, so we will put Windows back on that one, and then I might do a video of installing Ubuntu back on and try and see if we can't make a dual boot. I just don't know how that'll go, so we might do a video of putting a Ubuntu on there first and then maybe do so there you go. That was nice and easy, really. Went straight forward, machine's up and going again, so something you can do yourself pretty good. If anything's going to go on these, quite often there's two main things that seem to go. Wow, if you're looking after them, the main things that go. This one's got a new keyboard. Most of these have got a fairly easy keyboards to change. Sometimes they've got a little strip along here. Dear. They either have a little strip here that you pull up, and then there's some screws underneath, or if this one, I think actually this one you can lever it here, or you can pull the CD-ROM out and poke it up, and it just sort of pops out, and you can just pop the new ones in, slide the ribbon cables in and pop the new ones in. Most of these are fairly easy. Like I say, this one's a pop-in one. My older one had the screws behind a strip you had to pop out. My wife has one which has some hidden screw somewhere. I haven't figured out how to pull it out yet. We'll have to get a keyboard for it sometime, and it needs a new keyboard, so we'll have to figure out how it comes out. But I think it's got some sort of hidden screw up the middle somewhere that we'll have to figure out where it is. But most of them are fairly easy to put in and out. So the two main things go, you know, if your hard drive goes, RAM's easy to upgrade or change, and the keyboards, and these things keep going quite a while. There's no point throwing them out if you don't have to. Of course, a lot of them, people break hinges because they're a bit rough with them, or the screens go or something. It depends on how rough you are with them, but most of the time, most of my laptops are portable desktops, really, so I don't have a lot of trouble with them. So there you go. Got an old hard drive gone in your old laptop? Put a new one. What could go wrong? Yeah, so that worked fairly well. It took about half an hour. I think I started about 4 and it took about 4:30 or maybe it was a bit more than that, but it was fairly quick because I mucked around a fair bit, and a lot of stopping and starting and trying different things because my memory's shit. But it's a good example. Like yes, I used to muck around with computers quite a lot years ago, but I haven't mucked around much in years, so it's not complex stuff. Ordinary computer users can do that sort of thing, but it's very easy. I had no trouble. Like I say, that computer originally I probably bought it with Windows 8 or 8.1, maybe 7, but anyway, it's been upgraded over the years, and I actually log in, get all the updates and all that. I used to not. I think it was always, oh no, I don't want Windows doing anything on my computer, and you get over that, and it actually is good to keep your updates current. It actually works a lot better. But then I used to use Linux, and I used to always get updates then. But anyway, Windows, it had no trouble. So it knew exactly the machine. I didn't even have to tick a box to say, yes, that's my machine. I thought it might have said, oh, which machine is this? Anything, but it just went by the serial number or some data inside the computer had enough there that recognised the machine, even though the hard drive changed. So they have improved. Microsoft is way better. Used to have a bit of an attitude to them, but they're really a much better company than they used to be, that's for sure. I don't know if Bill Gates was the problem with that. Steve Ballmer, I didn't have a lot of time. I think Bill was more or less... he just stole or bought whatever he needed. Stole in the terms like not stealing as in proper theft, but if someone threw something in a garbage bin, he was quite happy to pick it up. But that Steve Ballmer I didn't really like. And I think Windows has come a long way since he's left anyway, so there you go. I don't say they're the perfect or they're goody-goody or anything like that, but it's certainly a company you can deal with without too many problems. I could probably deal with Apple too, but I've got a bit of an attitude to Apple sometimes, mainly. But I've never used Apple. Look, I'm sure their products are good. You go one way or the other. I've always gone with Intel hardware, and it just went the way. I did have an Apple machine one day. Actually, no, I didn't. I had an Apple clone that I never actually got going. And yes, it's annoying. You couldn't get a bloody clone for an Apple. You can get an IBM clone, but you couldn't get an Apple clone. So yeah, I got a bit of an attitude in those days. But anyway, next time we might look at doing Linux, which was also very easy. A little bit harder to set up the boot disk, although still pretty easy. I used Rufus, and we'll have a look at that. We might even put it on the computer here and run through Rufus and see how it works, because it was a little bit more complicated, but not really. You still just yes, okay, okay, drive, yep. And it wasn't that hard either. So next time.